where I did student
Mm,
productions that like you can, and you, again, this is in the old days, they didn't look good. Nowadays, everybody's stuff looks better.
hmm
I loved doing like one night play readings, stuff like that. But I do
And you
remember
you
I
help
wish
sit
they,
in the office, right? You help the agents sit
yeah,
in the
and I did
office and
that.
stuff. Yeah, that's great.
And I worked,
What
and I
kind of?
actually worked for
Mm,
Disney
mm,
as a temp. Um,
oh,
and it's because like an executive assistant temp. And then I had a boss, Paul Stockwell. He just sent me an email today.
mm,
Um, Paul, I was a temp for, and then so I would work, 2 weeks and then go out, whenever they needed me. And then his assistant was leaving, and he said, "I would love to hire you full time." And I said, "Oh, but I'm an
mm,
actress," which means, of course, what you work like. If you're lucky, you work 5 weeks a year. Like that's really good. 5 guest spots. That's a really great year.
mm,
So there's a whole lot of other weeks. And he said, "Here's the deal. You can work for me full time, do auditions whenever you need to, take an hour, lunch, whatever, flexible with your time. And if you get a job, I'll, take unpaid vacation and
huge,
I'll get a
huge.
temp." And I
Yeah, it's
was
like
like,
ideal.
"What?" Because I got health insurance. One of my family members was like, "So do I say you're just a secretary now?" And I was like, "Dude, I have health insurance. Like, shut up." Um, and because of
Mhm.
that, then I didn't quit that job, I think, until 93. And, Marla Gibbs, do you remember? Oh, God, is it Good Times? No, The Jeffersons.
Oh,
The
sure.
Jeffersons.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
She was the maid on The Jeffersons.
Oh no, I
She,
know exactly. That was my
yeah.
generation. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
great. Mm.
Boys and girls, look her up. She worked ground crew. She was like not a flight attendant, but there was check-in, a gate agent at an airline. And
Wow.
as you go up in the airlines, you have seniority, you work less and less hours, but you keep she did not give up that job until that show was syndicated.
And she was
She was
so
like,
good every episode on that
yeah,
show, right?
yeah, no, but she was still doing shifts because really,
That's insane.
she was like, "I'm keeping it up. I'm not an idiot." And that's, I think,
So,
the other thing, right? Don't give up anything until,
oh, I see. Okay, good, good, good. So, what do you think differentiates someone who becomes a huge star? Like, is it just luck? Is it that they were destined for it? Is it, because I stopped acting really early on, but I just wonder sometimes, what is it that makes a Lisa Bonet or a Marissa Tomei and kind of that it doesn't happen for me, that I'm just kind of a character actor on a few things that are really good and that's it. Like, what is it? Is it just that I didn't keep going or that it's just not my destiny? Just thoughts.
so a few things. I was really lucky to, right before I was 40, to meet a gentleman named Sam Christensen who's passed away. And he asked this question all the time. He was a casting director. He had cast MASH, for example. And he said, "I have friends who are actors." And Sam was like, just a big hearted, just so big hearted. Like the
Mhm.
word big hearted, that's Sam. Like he would cry if you introduced yourself. He'd like a softie.
That's
And he
nice.
said, "I have these friends who are so damn talented and
Mhm.
nothing." And then someone else who just falls off a turnip truck and it's huge. How do you get to this perfect storm where it's almost like being in, athletes talk about being in flow, right?
Mm.
Where just everything is working.
Mm.
So he did this thing called the Sam Christensen method, and they still have it. It was to help actors,
My acting teacher
un-
recommended that
right,
actually. His
understand
his thing, yeah.
what it is you present. Because unlike theater, where you're like, "Well, I, Roxanne, age 59, in a dark enough, large enough theater, I could play Juliet." It
Mhm.
would have to be a really big theater and really dark. Say, whatever. But on film, ain't no ingenue. Not gonna happen. Maybe in a body switch. But like film, the camera is reading everything out of your face, you are part, your instrument is you. This is the package you're in. And if you don't understand what people see when they see you, it's like living in a house and trying to sell it based on what this room looks like and feels like to me, but I've never driven by outside. So I have to integrate those things. So if my house looks like a Spanish revival, I don't even know what that is, but say it looks like a Spanish revival, and inside I'm totally like modern, stark, I have to understand that I need to integrate those two things. So that was what his method was about. And then it really helps you as an actor too, because it conversely opens up the world, because then I'll just give you an example. He helps you find a way to describe yourself that you're comfortable with. Literally, I was 40 years old when I took his class, 39 3/4, and collapsed in tears because I was like, do people see me as bossy? And then I looked back and I was like, duh. That's I can portray that without breathing. Literally. And what he used to do, and then September 11th happened, so he couldn't do it anymore. He would send people to the airport. Remember when he used to be able to go to just on the concourse, like walk up to a gate, whatever. So he'd send actors in pairs, and we would have a list of 300 adjectives, and you would ask, and I would just say, hey, Jake's here, can you just check off all the adjectives and you're not allowed to say a word, right? It is amazing.
You would ask strangers? You'd walk up to strangers?
Total strangers, right?
Oh, that's
so then
great.
We did it in the class because we couldn't go to the airport anymore. But in my class was my best friend.
I heard he was a genius, this guy.
And my husband. And then
that's nice.
5 total strangers. I could not tell which paper came from my husband, my best friend, versus the total strangers. We see each other, right? Now, we read things based on whether we like someone or not. So you can see a guy and think, oh, he's so charming. Or you can be like, that oleaginous. Like, so you, as an actor, if you have slick / charming as your thing, you can play either one, but understand that that's what people see when they look at you. So bossy is a bad word, is a negative connotation word. But if I play determined, which as an actor, you need to play every character truthfully. And so even if you're playing Attila the Hun, Attila thought he was doing good things. So how do you find that, right? So I am just determined, and I'm always right. So I can play that, right? So he helps people to, and anyone can do that. But I'll backtrack to something that you said, because we have this conversation in my family all the time. Stardom may be the worst thing for your life.
You mean in terms of isolation, drugs, everything? I
know a lot of people who are very successful. And I try to tell my kids all the time, would you rather be rich or famous? And they'd be like, famous. And I'm like, no, you want to be rich, because famous people do not get to eat alone and unmolested. They're,
there's always someone crazy who's looking at the TV going, that person's talking to me, or something like crazy like that. Yeah, it's true.
And what always. We know from a psychology degree is how close your face is in a close-up on TV is the intimate distance for most people. So I
never thought about that. That's neat.
Right? That who else's face do you see that closely?
And emoting.
So it's not all, that stardom thing, not all it's cracked up to be. Working, super fun. But even working, like I look back, thank God for IMDb, by the way, because I have no memory. So I look back on my IMDb and I'm like, damn, I've worked.
A lot, yeah.
But it doesn't feel that way when there's been a year between gigs and your last residual track was $5 and you can't pay your rent.
I've had residuals that make
right?
yeah.
So the rear view mirror always makes it seem easier than it is, but
Your star rating is high, whatever that means. I mean,
whatever. Somebody was looking at me for some reason, some strange reason. Like if you ever ended up on a foot website, you're like, oh, I'll never wear sandals on a TV show again. But
oh no.
That confluence of, so Sam would say that charisma is public self-acceptance, right? John Travolta plays the lovable loser. His characters are almost always the lovable loser. Um, uh, Meryl Streep is always, what am I doing in this situation? Right? Like everybody has an archetype and a thing that they're doing. Mine is always about control. When you hit that role where your essence meets the character, I mean, think of how collaborative film and TV
so like
are,
Jasmine
right?
Guy then, right? Yeah,
Right.
Jasmine Guy hit that.
It's written well. It was the zeitgeist of the time. It was a breakthrough. Like it was supposed to be Lisa's show, but Lisa's character was a sweet, whatever, and Jasmine was just like, and think about the people on Seinfeld. Were they nice? They were not. Think about Frasier. You said yourself that it's the second most successful show after Frasier. Kelsey Grammer wasn't trying to have anybody like him. That was an unlikable character. Very unlikable.
Arrogant, yeah.
He went to my high school, by the way, as well. And I just saw him the other day.
Doesn't he seem like a genius to you? He seems like a genius.
He's kind of a genius. He's kind of a genius. But so there was one other person that came out of my high school, Pinecrest in Fort Lauderdale, who's huge. Andy Buckley from the Office. He's awesome. And but I don't think, but there were so many of us who were all the theater kids. You know, it's also, here's the thing. You can get back to acting at any point. Like there are people who leave it. And to answer your other question, I'm sorry. You said, did I not work hard enough or try hard enough?
Well, I wasn't asking if you did. I was just asking like in general. No. Is it me too or me too, instead?
Like, no, me as well. Like I know, because guess what? There was a point where I had my babies and I was very clear. I don't leave town. I don't kiss people. Nobody wants to see me naked. There was like a long list of things that I didn't do. So I didn't want it. And people who want it above all else, first of all, they don't always get there.
That's right.
But there is a difference in the amount of work. If you look at someone like, I just went to a SAG Foundation thing where you get to hear from actors. So Ray Romano was talking, and people go like, oh, look at lucky guy. He got a sitcom. Do you know what he did before he got the sitcom? He sold futons. He worked in a bank where he met his wife Anna. He put on little shows in middle school. Like he started as an actor in middle school and was so. We all think things look easy, but if you scratch the surface of someone who appears on the scene out of nowhere, they've been around, and they're almost always good. There's hardly anybody. Every once in a while they try to push someone on us and we're like, no.
Yeah, right. The audience knows.
People are good. Like